We have a quorum of 2, 4, 6, 7 people. Myself, Thomas Avila, Tony Kitchen, Joseph Rosenbaum, David Miller, and Mark Watanabe. Oh, and Sean Farley. Got it this time. And we have William attending via online there. Oh, and you know what? I didn't pull up anything. Yep. So give me 1 second. Pull up the agenda here. Yeah. And we're in May. All right.
I'm going to be helping Doug on 115 in the PE testing. So if you can pump me up as you go along, whenever you can, without upsetting
the order. Yeah, of course. I'll try and keep an eye on the time there. You know what? You're number 2 on that committee report, so I think we'll be good. We'll start off. Call the order, quorum call. Secretary's report in minutes.
Did everybody get a chance to review the secretary's report? Did anybody have any questions, comments, or anything? Can I get a motion?
I move to
David.
I'll move to second.
Tony seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Yeah, Willie, right on. All right. Move on to treasurer's report. Tony.
Okay, I sent that out in the wee hours of the morning. Wasn't a lot of activity, no new membership, although I'm expecting a couple. They haven't came in yet. And I was incorrect about my statement about VOAC dues. I had forgotten that David Miller had paid that for us, so we don't have to worry about that. So we just have the upcoming expenses, the insurance with ARRL's insurance program, and post office box fee, and I'll be paying myself back for the field day rental. I held off on that because I couldn't decide if I should reimburse myself the 88 or just the 38, because there's a 50 that should come back anyway into my account. So figured I would either wait until they reimbursed or just reimburse the 38 and then assume that we're going to get the $50 back from the county, or that they'll reimburse my credit card.
Great.
So really not much going on there. And if there's any questions, let me know.
This is William. I move to approve subject to.
You're a little garbled, William. You want to try again?
I move to approve subject to audit.
Got it.
I'll second.
All right. William moves. Tony seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
No second.
Who did I say? Oh God. All right. Okay. Move on to committee reports. Digital systems. Do we have a report? Are you digital systems? Well, I guess nothing new.
I have an update. We can get the group. I'll ask Lou in I think we can do this. And I'll send an email, see if you can give me anything to put in.
Okay. Okay. Well, we will move on to education and outreach. There we go.
I filed a report with the executive committee May 12th. And just our activity through April, BOAT, BIARC meeting, siren testing, and on the excuse me, we responded to an RFA from the Hawaii County Civil Defense, and they were looking for help on the Boy Scouts. I was a Royal Scout at one point in Canada. Sorry about that. Yeah, the Makahiki event, and it was a good event, and we had a good time supporting the civil defense. And got good feedback on that, so that was May 3rd. And then we went down to the Keone Poko Elementary School in Hawaiian Beaches, May 7th. And that was well attended, 250, they estimate students and their parents. So that was a very good event. And we, I think Mark, Joe, myself, Jim, and Lee on the radiator, we had a good time. So, and we were planning to go down to Oahu this month, and they canceled. The school actually canceled, and no reason provided. So, but the whole event was shut down. So,
So they scrubbed the whole event there.
Yeah. And then we're looking forward to engaging again with Hawaii during the summer. But at this point, we have nothing on our docket. So that's,
One, about the monitor.
yes, yeah, we're donating. We tried using the monitor and the notebook to run a display during the Makahiki event, and it was well received. So we had donated a screen originally, but it didn't work out. And it was a used secondhand screen, so we've got a brand new screen, and the UNLC is donating that to buy art for those kind of events. So we need to get that into the inventory, Tony. I don't know exactly how to do that, but
Send me the make and model, and if it has a serial number,
okay.
and let me know who's gonna hang on to it.
Okay.
At least the serial number's right on the outside of
Yeah.
the box on that white label, so that makes it a lot easier. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, okay.
just-
I think the EONC will hang on to it, but it's available to anybody who wants to.
So are they actually formally donating it, or is it just borrowing it?
No, we're formally donating it. Yeah.
Do we need a motion to accept the donation?
Yeah, we should.
Accept the donation from who? You and everybody in the EOSC.
Who's donating it? The Civil Defense?
No, our team is donating it to buy
Our team.
our committee. It's a committee
Oh.
donation.
I thought it was-
Like, who was the original owner?
We're kind of team oriented, but I haven't calculated it exactly yet. It's-
So the Public Service
No, it's the
Education
Education
and
Outreach Committee, yeah.
is donating the
Yes.
fine art for use in all fine art.
And by our events, yeah. Okay.
I gotta get some measurements of that. I can make us a sunscreen and stuff, so when you're outdoors, at least you can see it.
So Mark, you move to accept?
Anybody,
I'll
second,
second.
20 seconds?
Second,
All in favor of accepting the monitor?
Excellent, and I'll send the shot.
There we
of
go.
the
It's a little delayed,
serial
but
number and stuff.
there we go.
And I think that's about all I've got. I'm gonna be helping with the VE testing this afternoon. Doug Wilson. And that's it.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay.
We can talk, at least get started with the conversation about the computer.
Right, to go complement and right now we're using a Chromebook to feed our message through the monitor. But ideally we'd have a Windows 11 notebook, and we'll look at pricing those and maybe getting something that we can use with Relink and FT8 and other platforms that the Chromebook really doesn't lend itself to. So more to come on that.
Just as a side note, I'll check the specs on the laptop that I have sitting at home because sometimes I end up with just random gear. I might be able to donate that.
Testing's next to it. Got it. Question, would we, is there an asset tab we put on things when they become that close or?
They do get
I guess we just
serialized.
put inventory with some sort of number.
You could actually do some-
I have experimented with creating asset tags that have a barcode and I have a scanner. Unfortunately, I have not found it class. They always fade out and wear off, and I got these Avery permanent labels and they weren't
Yeah,
permanent.
they're not permanent. Yeah.
So I didn't implement it because I wasn't happy with any solution that I found.
David?
William, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out there that if the committee does decide to purchase something, I qualify for an educator's discount as a professor. So since this would be used for an educational purpose, it's completely kosher and legit. So if you find something you want to get, and if it's from like somebody like Lenovo or somebody like that, generally they'll give a discount for a teacher.
Okay.
And if anything, take a look at the Lenovo line of things.
Yeah.
They're not quite military grade, but
Yeah.
they're military grade, at least
Yeah.
on paper there. So, I mean, that,
Basically just on value.
yeah, I got a really good deal on my, my work laptop and yeah, at this place. So yeah, take a look at what they have on sale and stuff too. All right. Operating activities.
Operating activities, okay, for field day, I've arranged for the pickup and delivery of supplies, through Thomas. And right now, until field day comes, that's all I got.
Question.
Go ahead.
The CQ Worldwide event, they're having their CW portion on May 29th and 30th, I think it is.
Okay,
Has anyone expressed any interest in participating in that?
nobody said anything to me.
Let
Okay.
me get better at
I
CW.
mean, I don't know how to do CW and I don't know how many people here or the club really would be active for that.
Yeah, I don't do CW, but I know some people do. So that's the big annual event.
That's the 29th.
Yeah, it's 0000 UTC through
20.
Sunday,
With the
11 or 23:59. Yeah, and it's kind of a big deal. A lot of people.
Yeah.
All the CW guys would want to.
Maybe I'll take some of the Lee and have it put in the handgram that whoever's interested, maybe we could do something, just to put a feeler out.
I did get an official invitation from the CQ Worldwide people sent to the Buyer.board account. I
Okay,
think it was just yesterday, inviting us to participate.
okay.
So that's coming up. So yeah, it's 48 hours is what it is. 48-hour time.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, I just want to get this in my notes there too, so I can practice and get better at this. I mean, might as well jump in. All right. If that's it for operating activities, program. What's on the docket for program?
Okay, well, so technically, I'm not currently the chair of the programs committee. Technically, it's still David, but I'm currently assisting David by keeping the committee running. There's going to be a motion about that in the membership meeting after this to try to make it so somebody other than that role can be the programs chair. So this is, of course, the May general membership meeting. It's a business meeting of the club membership itself. I had offered for anyone to add a short presentation or program into this meeting that was an outreach. Nobody did, so there business today. Next month is the June meeting, which happens just before field day. That's going to be a field day related topic. I put out a few feelers asking for people to do presentations. Nobody took one. I have a fallback, and it's not to be operating multiple stations in full quarters. But I didn't want to make it purely stay focused if that's what we end up presenting. So it's going to be as much about operating multiple radios in your own shack, you know, band on different bands, things like that, as it would be operating during an operating activity like field day. July, I'm still working on getting an official from the Air National Guard or the Air Guard. I'm working on the 93rd CST at the moment to see if they will come in and talk about how, or what they do, number one, but how one of them individually prepares for disasters. Disasters they're going to deploy to as much as disasters that are going to affect their personal life. There are several other things that we're working on, guest speakers and things like that. There's more updates available for that in the, I believe it's the meetings.
Oh, yeah, you dropped out, William. Might just be in a bad spot there.
Yeah, no,
There
it's
we
all
go.
a bad spot. So when did I drop out?
Oof. About maybe 30 seconds, if that.
Okay, so I'll back up and say that July, we're still trying to get a representative from the National Guard or the Hawaii Department of Defense. And that's to talk about what they do. Right now I'm targeting the 93rd CST. Tony can describe more of what they do. He's familiar with them since I'm driving. And the idea is to get them to describe what they do, but also how an individual from the Guard prepares for a disaster professionally and a disaster with personal preparation. So that's July. After that, we're still working on a number of guest speakers and stuff like that. And there's more information about that all out in the Discord.
Okay.
William, I have a question for you if I can. This is Tony.
Yeah.
So just so everyone knows, that's the civilian support team, right? CST?
CST Civil Support Team.
Civil support team. Okay. And they're attached to the National Guard, and is it HIEMA? Or is it just
Yes.
National Guard?
They are a joint operation of the Air and Army National Guards under the Hawaii Department of Defense. Another branch of the Department of Defense is HIEMA.
Okay, so they're affiliated with DoD then. And if you can get a representative to present to us, I would really appreciate it if maybe they could focus on interoperability frequencies. You think that's a possibility?
Sure. I mean, their focus is going to be interoperability with other agencies, not with the amateur community so much. So we can get them to cover the NIFOG and possibly the OXFOG. Is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, that'd be great. Even if they're not talking to us, it's nice to know how they, connect up with the civil authorities.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
If there is any option for them to interoperate with the amateur radio side, that would be good to know as well.
Yep.
Thanks, William.
All right. We'll call Bob back later. On to public service communications.
So Les is still the chair of that. I'm on the committee. We have not met. And of course, his desired focus there was the wanting to support marathons. And unfortunately, we didn't get the participation that he had hoped for, and that's why we weren't able to support the last marathon. I think we should give it another try. I think he needs some encouragement. But maybe that's one of the things that we can get feedback from in the membership meeting today. So typically at the membership meeting, just for anyone who doesn't know, there's an opportunity for the board to give reports, maybe treasurer's report, secretary report, if there's anything relevant that the membership would want to know about. And then each committee would also give reports. And then we have the ability to take motions from the membership, like William was referring to, his motion regarding the mandatory committee membership topic. We'll wait for his motion to see if that's been modified or if it's going to stand as is.
Okay. Next up, voice repeaters. Is there? Well, Trevor's not with us.
Yeah, I'm on the committee. To my knowledge, the committee has not met.
Okay. Well, put a pin in that. Well, there's old business listed. Jim is not here. Jim Tater. Okay. I mean, we might have to just put a pin in that since he is occupied.
That means table until the next meeting, right?
There we go. Yeah. Table until the next meeting.
Do we need a, motion to table that, or?
I think it already was,
All
so we
right.
would need a motion to resurrect it. We're fine.
New business. Possible legal issues with pictures and audio video recording of minors at school and other events. Is there any update on that?
Yeah, it's a real mixed bag of different levels of administration, state, county, school. And some of it laws, some of it practices or procedures. But it all comes down to parents and kids, basically, that we're dealing with at the elementary
On the
school.
individual level?
Well, or even as a group, like the Museum of Science and Technology technically doesn't allow picture taking. There's lots of picture taking going on during these events. So, have to clarify that. And I've got some feelers out with some of the schools on how they administer it as well. So in the meantime, I was going to propose that we have a moratorium basically on picture taking and publishing in the Ham grant, for instance, or by our email. And that's where it stands basically at this point.
Question, so the Science and Technology Museum, that's kind of on its own. They're a standalone, nonprofit?
Yeah.
And they are hosting what?
They're the organizer of these events, really.
A monthly event
Yeah,
with
well,
businesses.
more or less monthly, but it involves like maybe a dozen different agencies, USGS and
Right.
us and other groups.
So in the past, someone from the school, from the DOE, had sent BIARC pictures into our email.
Oh,
And that was what we had published in the past. But I haven't seen that recently.
no,
But I was operating under the assumption that if they're sending it to us specifically, that we could use it.
the pictures that are being used in the Ham grant, for instance, are all ones that we take.
Okay.
So, and Mark takes some pictures, I take pictures, and Joe, wherever there's camera, so there's other people taking pictures that are part for the lab as well, so.
Is there any other event besides the Science and Technology Museum? Can you say that?
Makahiki,
Boy Scouts,
Boy Scouts.
And that's happening what, regularly?
No, that was a yearly thing, annual.
And-
Those kind of things, the YMCA is another one as well. It's not part of the science museum, so.
Well, each group would have its own policy then.
Yeah, yeah, so it's a mixed bag of different policies and rules, regulations, laws. So I'm trying to get some clarity on,
because at the science and technology, the STEM, they're using a public venue to the public school. And their students and their families are attending. So I'm wondering, we need to clarify under whose auspices, because when I was at the DOE, at the high school level, we had to have every student sign a waiver, signed by the parents, allowing or requesting no images or likeness of their child. That would be, I don't know how it would be possible to police this thing, because you might have a media photographer at the interscholastic game, with 2 schools participating and all that. How do you police that? But the letter of the law is not the letter of the law, but the concern is with so many non-nuclear families, sometimes they're afraid of someone surveilling all this media and looking for child.
yeah, we're basically outsiders.
Yeah.
Coming
So
into the
it's
school
a-
town as well, so.
And on the other hand, well, these are public events, and so
Not really
Dr.
public, they're
semi, so, yeah.
they're not open to the public. Other than the school. Parents.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm aware of the jurisdiction.
Where it all lands.
So ultimately, we don't need to worry so much about the policy of the museum insofar as that we still maintain a good relationship with them. I mean, if it's going to be a deal killer that we're taking pictures and they don't want that, then let's not take pictures. So really what this is going to boil down to is we need to ask each school in advance before we get there, because the educators that have custody of the children at that time are a guardian by proxy. They have the children as a ward in their custody and care, so they can consent just as a parent can. And there's certain limitations to that. If the school says no photography, it's no photography. If the school says you can take photographs, but you can't show the faces of any children, that's the rule. But until we get a system-wide rule from the school system, we're going to have to ask each school individually in advance of the event how they want us to handle it. I don't think we should stop, because it's very good outreach publicity for us. But, you know, I don't think that we need to set a hard and fast policy. We just need to take our policy from the hosting school and be adaptive that way.
That's something we can easily do, is go in ahead of time and get that established before the event, well before the event, yeah. So,
Well, then our policy really should be to direct the Education and Outreach Committee to do their due diligence and communicate with the sponsors of the event and the
Yeah.
people who have custody to ask them and follow their guidance.
without setting any relationship with CM. It might be contradictory with what the school says.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, well, I propose we just go with the most restrictive rule, so long as that we're bound by it. I'm not sure that we're really bound by the universities, or not the museum's rule. I think that's more about stuff at the museum.
But we are in the sense that we want to maintain good relations.
Yeah.
So. yeah,
And I'm not saying that we're gonna tell them to pound sand. What I'm saying, and like I said, if they said no, no matter what, I think we have to abide by that. They're the host.
And we can advise the museum, after we contacted the school as to what our operating, groundwork's gonna be for that particular event, so it's. Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
Oh,
There's also the issue of voice recording. I've had some of our necks recorded and put on YouTube before. There was a recent Mauna Kea net where Michael Miller made contact from Oahu and posted the voice recording of the net onto a YouTube channel. So that's
once they're out there, pictures, voice recordings, it's, yeah.
yeah. So I'm not sure if that's going to be a concern or not, but that's
Dissemination.
certainly a possibility.
Hold on a second. I'll give my comments in a second when I walk in there.
Okay. We'll
There it is.
shall we wait for William?
There it is.
So Hawaii is a single party state for voice and video recording. As long as one party to the conversation is aware that they're being recorded, then it's legal. Where it's a dual party situation, such as California, where both parties have to be aware that they're being recorded. However, there's somewhat of an operational exemption when you transmit information over the radio, because you are sending it worldwide, and there's almost an expectation that it could be recorded because that's the nature of radio communication. So I don't think that recording the nets is a legal issue at all, in my layman's opinion, because you're aware that you're doing it, and oftentimes when some of us do it, we announce it to the net that we're doing it, so more people are aware of it. So I don't think there's much to worry about there.
So getting the ground rules set with the school, or the event, prior to the event is the main consideration.
Yeah, well, and I still think that we ought to pursue a system-wide policy from the Department of Education. And
Yes.
we probably have one buried somewhere, they don't realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as long as we don't run afoul of the individual schools' administrations, I think we're gonna be okay.
I think that policy is deferring to the schools, the individual schools in a lot of cases, so.
Well, I'm pretty sure at the system level, they actually do have policy on this. They
Yeah,
just
okay,
don't know.
okay,
That's just from my experience with DOE.
Yeah.
That seems to be the way they run it.
yeah. And I mean, we don't have any malicious purpose or anything. It's a bad person outside the group that might misuse the material. That's the concern, yeah. Yeah, so. Cover
Well,
CYA, I think you call it CYA, right?
Well, and I think if we structure our policy that way, it also helps if we go to camp schools or private charter schools or something like that.
Yeah,
Because then those could also be vastly different in their opinion on this.
Right.
Same thing with Boy Scouts and the YMCA.
So that's what I said, just the host
That's right.
venue and the school district government.
yeah. Okay, well, let's, so more to come on that. We will pursue that. Fortunately or unfortunately, the Natalinu school event is closed or canceled, so we have nothing on the docket right now, so we can focus on that. I'm getting that clarification. Sorry.
Okay. I mean, no motion needed for any of this. Just keep digging, keep digging.
No, I think that we ought to set an interim policy at the moment and state that we're going to abide by the individual schools or organizations,
Their
policies or, stated limitations.
It sort of gets back to something we raised a couple of months ago about the participants, our participants having IDs, like we all wear our uniforms and identify ourselves. They know who's coming. But some parents like to see an ID. They like to see a piece of documentation. So This is something we should keep on the burner as well.
So I did generate a couple of possible logos because originally we said that we wanted a more appropriate logo for that purpose. So I don't have the ability to show them today, so I was expected to talk about it, but perhaps next month I can bring a couple of logos and we can say, hey, these are possibly useful for IDs.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone saw the logo I put on the presentation last month. That was it.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good.
no, that'll be good. Yeah, having a set badge, if you will, that'd be good. Give people that peace of
Yeah,
mind.
we've got an unwritten policy to wear our shirts and present ourselves as by our professionals that are participating in this.
Well, and we can go so far as to require a background check. We can, and that can be various things. There's background checks a very nebulous term. And, you know, we can do so much as just say, okay, we verified that they're not a sex offender. You know, or we can put them through, you know, a whole background check that, you know, we go talk to their second grade teacher, like when I
Yeah,
got clearance.
an FBI background
But,
check. Yeah.
You know, but we can also do that to help, you know, sure the students. The schools generally require a background check to the fingerprint for long-term volunteers.
Yeah.
So maybe if the DOE would offer that to us as volunteers, we could do that as well, and we could include something on the badge that said, you know, background check by Department of Education or something like that. You know, loss wage and fears.
So as far as printing up some kind of badge, you know, I only have black and white laser printer.
Oh, no, we looked at that, and you can get badges printed, you know, relatively cheap from online services. You just got to send them the person's picture, the logo. You do a little layout. It's kind of like Vistaprint getting business cards, and they print it for you. I think it was like
There's companies locally that can do that.
we are still, once we have everything that we need, we didn't want to ask and then be like 6 months or a year later coming to do it. We were going to approach our public safety partner and see, because they all have badge and see if maybe they would print for us. You know, the fire department, civil defense, police department, they all have badge for us.
Yeah.
Maybe the DOE could do it because they have to.
So do we want to make a motion for this, or?
Well, we're still in discussion at the moment. How do people feel about the need for an interim policy saying that we're going to comply with the,
Abide by whatever institution's policies are. I mean,
I'd say-
we have to.
I'd say the interim policy would be that we will not do audio, video recording or photography at an education outreach event. Express permission of the entity hosting the event, such as the school or.
That probably should include publication like with the Hamgram as well.
Could conceivably be used in a press release.
You know, we could use them on social media posts, press releases, handgram.
Cover all bases, yeah.
The use is another matter, but just the actual taking of photographs, I think that we need to get express permission from the school or whatever other kind of entity it is. Yeah, you know, we're not sponsoring it, it's the museum. So the hosting entity is, that's the venue, that's where we're actually going. They're providing audience.
Use that with the Y or any other agency.
So it's a big sidestep around the issue.
Yeah.
I concur with Woody. Have something in place and we can at least get the ball moving.
Okay, I move that the board implements a policy for all actions of the club that are involved in education and outreach involving minors, that photos and audio and visual recordings shall not be conducted without advanced express consent to host a venue. It's not as slow, so you can write it down.
Yeah, yeah. And at least the recording will get it too.
He's still writing.
Second, Martin.
Mark second. William Long second. Okay.
All in favor?
I,
Now, what happens if we're hosting our own event, like field day?
Well, I mean,
We'll have a pro forma document. We can sign.
Let me ask you a question. Didn't you say that, if we're just taking pictures of field days, not exactly for the kids, but if the kid happens to be in the background, that's okay?
I believe we're perfectly in our right to do so, but what do we want to do as an official policy? Is the board okay with us taking photographs that may also be member minors and non-member minors?
Journalism.
these are in parks, public spaces.
Yeah. What about meetings?
Seeing kids, but yeah,
Yeah, occasionally we've had,
there were about 4, 5 kids that walked.
no, we've had youngins attend meetings.
Oh, yeah,
It's been a little while, but it's happened. David, that's all I. But his daughter used to come.
We can crop out,
But then-
Not from the meetings recordings.
I mean, you put it into, editing software, you can do that.
But do we need to, is what I'm saying, you know? I just think we need to
I mean,
make a
that,
conscious decision here.
well, the person, or,
The guardian there.
yeah, I mean, like, it's there, here, there's the implied sense that it's gonna be recorded.
Yeah, plus we're letting them know, like we talked about last month, that, hey, we're gonna be recording this. If you don't want to be recorded, take appropriate measures, move and be quiet. I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I think recording everything is going to help with the outreach and
Well, we might consider putting up a sign, having a sign that we can put on the monitor
Yeah.
or by the monitor. These sessions are being recorded and may be used for,
the only complaint we've ever received about it is from some of the vets, because they wanted to structure their comments differently if they're being recorded.
I also got some feedback from Gary, who wasn't thrilled about the edit for the HCCPS.
Well, it's unfortunate because it's the day and age that with the prevalence of cameras and recording devices in general.
Well, I mean, there's a sign right there that says we're being recorded.
Yeah. Yeah. Everywhere, Big Brother's out there.
Well, personally, I think that we should take as many pictures as we can at our events and our meetings. We should record as much as we can. We should get this out there, let the community see that we're active. When I first went to join BIARC in 2016, I thought the club was defunct. I went and got my my license on the mainland. Because when I went to the website, it was years outdated. There was nothing out there in the public about the club. And I figured that the amateur radio community had just died. Well, the fact that we have such a presence, I think, is a very good thing.
Yeah.
When was the last time, who's the webmaster? I'm sorry to talk about it.
It is updated monthly, somewhat.
But our presence is so much more than the web now, because we've got the Facebook, the Discord, the YouTube channel.
We have a lot more online instances.
Maybe, I don't know, is it enough to post policy on the webpage? Right under the links and say that these meetings were recorded?
I think we should post them everywhere possible, like when you first walk in the doors, have a big sign right on the door, so they can't miss it, right? Online, when they get online, maybe put a webpage or announcement or something, but the online people know what's going on. And
Well, they're online, they tell you as soon as they're recording.
right. So either way, if we just let them know right here and make an announcement, have a couple different signs around, I think we're covered.
But I'm hearing that you think we should still record and we should still take pictures.
Absolutely.
That's really what I'm driving at.
Yeah.
You know, how we accommodate is another. So,
Yeah, if, like I said, we talked about this last week. If you don't want to be recorded, take appropriate measures. If you're a minor or they don't want a minor, same thing, take appropriate measures.
So I move that the board adopt a policy that we encourage photography and videography at as many events as possible.
Okay.
Second,
Me.
Sean?
Oh, yeah.
All in favor of?
Right.
All right.
There, and now that's gonna go into the meetings, it's gonna go into the Anagram, and it'll be in the meetings on the webpage.
And I can also, when I do my nets, I can announce it on that, but people start getting more, hearing it more so they know it. You know?
Yeah.
That's all.
One thing I will say is that whomever uploads the videos, remember to put to YouTube, remember to put a thumbnail. Because if you don't, the YouTube algorithm will hunt through the video to find the first face that it can identify, and it will make that thumbnail. And I received complaints about that, saying, why is my face the thumbnail? I didn't know. But if you just take the club logo and put it as the thumbnail on YouTube, then that's what the thumbnail is, and it doesn't highlight this person.
Give me up with some fun, I appreciate it. So. Skip that. I didn't just skip. Here's a photographer.
Okay. With that bit out of the way there, got lost in this. Adherence to meeting agenda.
How about discussion on setting meeting dates to accommodate room
there- yeah.
availability?
Yeah. Discussion on setting meeting dates to accommodate room availability. So,
This is a new example. Right today.
yeah.
What happens?
I like this space better than the room.
Minus the mosquitoes. I don't know. They're coming after me and nobody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works for me.
Sacrificial, man. Yeah. I stopped eating sugar and they still come after me. So, I mean, how do we go about this bit there? I mean,
Well, let's try to plan it in advance. We had the Super Bowl, we had Mother's Day. Is there anything else coming up?
I think those are the only two throughout the year that we have, so, that I know of.
What about Father's Day?
I don't think that,
does that fall on that?
I'm a terrible father, I don't know what it is.
It's in June. Second week.
So, yeah, it's the 15th next
Sunday, June
month,
15th,
but our meeting is on the,
Sunday, June 15th.
what? No, it's 8th, right? Because first Sunday is the first there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You're right.
that slides right in there.
I don't know.
It's been a problem ever since we moved to the second Sunday.
Yeah.
And we talked about maybe moving it back, but we were gonna do a survey, and the survey never got done. So I think we have to table this and do the survey and find out when people want to meet. We moved to the second Sunday because this room wasn't available on the first Sunday, or the second Saturday.
Would we have a venue for Saturday?
Well, let's find out if we need to go look for one. You know, maybe this space here is available on Saturdays.
Yeah, the further in advance we can look at the. But we've got kind of a standing reservation for the second Sunday right now.
Yeah.
Because we moved it and then we moved it this week, we've done it twice lately, and then Doug came in with the testing session. And, I guess there was confusion around BIARC and radio, ham radio in general. So I ended up with a key that doesn't work for anything other than maybe what
That's.
Well, my thoughts would be to, try to keep it consistent unless they're strong, you know, with what we're doing, unless they're strong.
Well, like I said,
Uh,
I mean, we need to find out what the general membership wants, and this is a good time to talk about that in this next upcoming meeting.
yeah, let's bring that up today.
Because if we're not getting the members into the meetings, that's an issue. So if there's people who can't make it because of the day we've chosen, we're constantly having to move it. But then maybe the membership really loves the second Sunday of the month. We just keep doing what we've been doing. But we need to find out what they want.
All right, we'll bring it up at the meeting today.
Yeah.
What about the survey that we talked about doing? Talk about doing a survey that we could send people wait online.
Yeah, figure out which way to do that.
What survey software would take a, common delimited file?
There's Survey Monkey that online.
I don't want to have to enter in all the email addresses.
Yeah, you could you just send it out?
Well, yeah, so here's the thing. I think you could just send out a link and ask them to put in their call sign. And all that does is flag who's a member or not a member.
We could use a Google form then. That would work. Post the link on the website, send it out to the discussion group, post it on Discord, post it on social media.
I mean, the only thing I know of where it's the simplest would be like Instagram, but
Does Discord do surveys?
I don't know. It does, yeah. I mean,
You
that,
could set up like a vote.
but then everybody would have.
No, that's not, it's inclusive. You know, there's only a small subset that are using the Discord.
Very small one.
A Google form would work better. It actually will summarize the results. They have an automated summary page that we can all see. It would show how many people voted one way or the other.
It makes it simpler too.
It'll
Then
automatically have a pie chart. Do you just want to give the two options? Saturday at 2 p.m. versus Sunday at 2 p.m. Two options.
Yeah, I think we can ignore which day of the month it is. I mean, we might be able to, solve a lot by saying that we're gonna do things on the third Sunday of the month. Because that's, seems to be much less likely to collide with the Super Bowl and holidays, things like that. But we need to find the day preference. People prefer Saturday or they prefer Sunday.
And then we have to find if this facility is available. Maybe somebody else might have the third Sunday, but they're not booked already.
Would we sidestep the issue by moving to the third Sunday or third Saturday?
Yeah, I think we probably would, but again, that comes down to venue availability and venue preference.
so depending on
We came down here because it wasn't available for a short amount of time, and that's what changed the meeting day.
Just to throw a thought, I'm curious because when they mentioned this possible space, this is too far in the future for at the university.
Yeah, they are not being quick at answering anything at the moment.
That's a bummer. Maybe we'd have more flexibility if that were the case.
Yeah, because I don't think a lot of things happen there over weekends. They have a nice space like this, actually nicer than this. But,
I like the neutrality.
No, no.
Better. The neutrality of it, it inspires education.
yeah,
I think there's just a lot to be said about it.
but we need to have the day pinned down, and then we can do which week of the month. And then that gives us what we need to approach it and say, hey, we like this space on a recurring basis.
So we kind of know Sundays, right? So I mean, we'll figure this out in this meeting. So we can take that as a B-sides with this place, because it's a known entity, and just kind of push it alongside parallel.
But we don't go on Sunday. We used to be Saturdays.
Well, whatever the outcome
So-
of the meeting is, so we can take that at that time. We're planning today.
Yeah.
To get that information. to people. Then once that is, we can just parallel.
A lot of other clubs meet evenings during the week. Yeah, I'm not sure that's gonna be tied to our community.
Yeah, that wouldn't work for
I
me.
don't think it would work, yeah.
But we need to find out what's gonna bring the people in the door.
So what about our affiliation with the university? You know, is that,
They're not answering anything in a hurry.
that's not happening. So that's the
No, it's-
first step.
It's still gonna happen. I just don't know what their timeline is. Maybe here after graduation happens, there'll be less taxed and we can dialogue more. But I'm in the same boat with the IEEE and them at the moment. So, not reciprocating.
Other concerns.
So, we did come to the conclusion though that we just need the survey to ask the day that they prefer.
Yeah.
If you want time. Or just day.
Why don't you go for a broad stroke just to see what happens?
Say keep time the same at least. That way it's continuity.
Well,
Some people don't like change. At least check.
It's a lot more complicated to do the survey when you give people too many options.
Yeah.
Because then you have to have a first choice and a second choice and
Yeah.
splits.
We can do the survey as, do you prefer Saturdays? Do you prefer Sundays? And do you have any other comments about times or anything else?
Mhm.
And then I don't think we're gonna get many, we can parse through those manually. if we want. So if there's a comment box option,
Okay.
everybody has a different expectation.
You know, with a lot of older people in the club, older people don't like to drive at night. And sometimes it's not safe.
They don't want to drive.
Yeah.
But then I think the focus there, I think it's more like connectivity, making sure that we have good video, audio, when we're talking off. You know, that we're, like a two monitor, two.
And speaking of connectivity, I do a lot of meetings online completely virtually. And they work really well because the automated transcripts, when everyone's participating virtually, have the person's name, who is saying what. When we're in a room like this, the transcript
Says
says,
you.
it says Big Island Amateur Radio Club and everybody is that, labeled that.
Yeah.
And so it's impossible for the secretary to really tell without actually listening to the meeting,
See who's
recording
spoke.
to who said what. One big advantage with doing things online is it really makes it easy to identify who said what. So I throw that out there. Me personally, I see the advantage of this is a beautiful place and it's a nice day. And it's nice to see everyone face to face, but we're all pretty busy.
I agree with, there are some activities where virtual meeting is convenient. However, it's difficult to make a presentation, especially if you have a hands-on type of thing.
Yeah.
You need too many cameras.
So it might work better for the board meetings, but not the club meetings.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, what works better for that is if you do a canned presentation where you pre-recorded the hands-on stuff. And then there's no point doing the in-person part at all. You know, so there's a lot to be gained about the in-person portions of these meetings, and I don't think we should give that up entirely. We did during COVID, and we suffered. And we came out of it with a great hybrid model.
There's a social aspect to meeting.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's actually the only reason I ever got back into ham radio. Otherwise, I don't socialize at all.
I really feel that in person is a lot more beneficial. You know, I understand the convenience and time and this and that, but to be a cohesive group, I think being, in person makes it
It's
different.
hard to feed people turkey on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
The in-person event is better for cohesion. The hybrid allows for inclusion, like today. I had a customer issue I had to take care of, and I wouldn't have been able to make this board meeting if I hadn't been able to jump online.
Right.
I think we ought to keep them hybrid, but I think we really need to make the in-person event the focus.
I think not only hybrid, but I go back to the 2 camera thing. I mean, really up our game. Get the mics, get the camera, get the PA system. Make an effort to like, we're looking to say, hey, we're trying to bring you in. Wherever the social media
The
is.
hard part is
It won't
that
happen overnight.
that's a full-time activity while you're doing it.
Yeah.
So
But if you're gonna bring people who have participation and need to do something, then maybe the activity that people, hey, I'm kind of interested in.
I got it.
For the club.
but it's hard to get people with the equipment and the skills.
You know, so I would look at the club videos, they're not that great.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so if we just tried and made an effort to start, I think that's where you kind of want to go. Because if you defeat the idea, it's like, it's gotta have this level, because we're already, it's pretty hokey, right? When I was looking over at the interpretation of our words, we got some of those words coming out completely wrong. So, yeah, honestly, I'm just trying to say, if you want a media, let's make your paper look like you're making media happen. I don't know how many times I've heard less, or I think I brought it up, like, I have a PA system, get on mic and a PA, or somebody asks a question.
The problem with that is that you need to integrate everything together. So you can't use a mic and a PA that does not connect to the hybrid session.
You could run the mic and a PA through some sort of input to that, there's gotta be a way.
There is.
Okay, but I'm not saying it's that thing have to be the hard part of that experience is trying to bring those people who are might find those interests. If you, you know, if they're all trying to make this ready-made thing with policy or whatever, it's the potential that you're not gonna really do it. It's gonna be kind of.
But every meeting's gonna require 2 cameramen and an AV guy.
Well, not necessarily.
Oh,
Okay, that's
necessarily.
YouTube stuff, and you got like Josh in the AV unit. I think there's creative ways to do this. I'm used to being television years ago. I dropped out of that deliberately. I tell you, if I was really interested in participating, I'd find a way. That's the point of what I'm trying to say. So bring out the creativity and if you want participation. Ask them my questions.
And we're hearing you volunteer to do it.
No, I'm just saying it's opposite. I gave up that since, you know, I used to work for ABC many years ago, do production. I've done a lot of videos. It can be done.
Yeah, basically the PA needs to be driven out of the same mixer box that the mics are using. So you need a little bit more high-end mixer box that will support multiple outputs and inputs.
No, actually, these microphones will do it. What you do is you use these microphones, and there's an auxiliary output on it,
Mhm.
and you run that in the PA.
It's on that end. There is an audio out jack on that. And it does port audio through the USB-C port. But yeah, it has to just run through that same DAC, so it'll not feed back and do that whole loop thing. And then we have to just make sure that people don't have hot mics in the meeting. Otherwise, it'll do that again, the whole
So
feedback
if you look
loop.
at the recordings, they used to be a lot better, but I would have to come in an hour ahead of time to set stuff up. And then it was impossible for me to run that stuff and give a presentation. And my time would evaporated. That was it.
Yeah, I think the thing is that we
Well, I
have
can
to.
I can share an example of what we're doing at our church, and we're facing the same kind of discussion. And our problem, one of our problems is getting enough people on board to do the hand mechanicals that operate the cameras. We have 2 cameras. We have a switcher, but we don't have a switcher, and we don't have a director every week. So that makes it very difficult because you have to have someone coordinating, telling what camera to take and who's going to be there. And I've done professional video for PBS, and the systems are very convenient to use. They're getting be affordable, but there's still a skill set that needs to be mastered by the.
Do you guys remember I did an experiment where I pre-recorded segments for a program?
Mhm.
And everyone decided that they didn't care for it.
Mhm.
So a 30-minute video took 8 hours to make,
Mhm.
with the editing and everything else. So when you say you can do it in editing, you can, but it's a full-time job.
It's lengthy procedures to edit videos.
I worked for, Americans, people, I had I know all about that. But it's really, I think we're missing kind of, it's nice to talk a story. There was a company, I think we're coming around to that reality, it's always participation. Who's gonna participate, who's gonna do that? I get it, you guys. But what I'm saying is, when there is participation, or when there's desire, it can be done. That's all. And what we don't have is the bodies do it. Have you seen the two committees that we have? You've got all of the people on it, participation. We're suffering in every.
I think we can put it out there during the membership meeting, like, hey, would anybody be interested in recording and make the things better there? But I don't know if anybody jump at that.
Well,
Probably can't afford it. I mean, the equipment that I have is, and mine's for teaching, it's just too expensive. I mean, you go to the next level where you've got a switcher and stuff like that, and you're talking about thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just my microphones alone were a few hundred.
Yeah.
I didn't see new pieces that were on field production. We think something last time. We don't have. It's really participation. So,
But that's the thing, is that for it to be done with as few people as possible, you can't use the garbage equipment. You're gonna have to use the equipment that has the automation in it so that you can do it with 40 people.
gotta happen.
Yep.
And you're not going anywhere with that. Back in the day, I used to do public access. Right? It was a production. It's so much fun, man. You just got participation. Mesh Tastic is blowing up because people want to participate. And then all of a sudden, who knows?
Well, let's get back to the agenda.
Yeah.
The conclusion on the day, Sunday versus Saturday. I can work on a Google form to post to our social media, to our website, a link, and send out via email.
Listserv,
to the fire listserv.
it's gonna be
And,
the best option.
And and we can post on the Discord. I'm not sure which channel it should go on. General.
Announcements or
Uh,
I gotta get on there.
Yeah. So let's get some feedback. See what we've done.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that or?
No, because I think it goes back to an existing motion. It was never action.
Gotcha.
We already.
Yeah.
said we already.
Okay. Next, adherence to meeting agenda. So just sticking to.
We did pretty good today up until the very last item, which is difficult. And we did need to probably put on the agenda one last thing before we adjourn, and that's for a call for any other business.
Isn't that what we just did?
Yeah, but it wasn't on the agenda. So if it were on the agenda, then we would have adhered to the agenda. So yeah, let's make sure to keep at the end, especially if there's non-board members who are here that want to have a topic addressed.
Do you want me to make a separate entry on the agenda?
Yeah, right before adjournment,
Right.
call for other business. That's typically how it's done.
Speaking of agenda in other business, do we have an agenda for the membership meeting?
We do not.
We owe one to the membership. This would be like a fifth membership meeting in a row that we have off.
Yeah, we do need an agenda for our membership meetings. So next, we'll have to do that the next meeting,
November.
November, the November meeting, which will be the election.
And I'd like to throw out, that falls on the board as a whole. It doesn't fall on the secretary. It's not listed in their duties. In fact, the agenda for this meeting isn't the secretary's duty. He's taking on, but
We had emailed me, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but just to verify, the membership meetings, right? All the decisions that go into this next meeting, the official record of that is the minutes.
yes.
That's right, okay. Just want to make sure.
And that is within your
Yeah. So,
duties.
Right.
But the agenda, that's a board thing as a whole, so it may be delegated by the president, but for executive board and for general manager.
I've always seen it as all of the board members can put items on the agenda,
Yes,
but it's typically the secretary that pulls it together into a document.
it's on any committee, it can be the secretary, it can be the chair, whatever. You just need to make it happen.
I mean, I don't mind doing the agenda unless somebody has a problem with how to do it.
No, I think you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. I mean,
Leaving the meeting on
thank you.
All right.
Okay, yeah, do your thing.
I move to adjourn.
I'll be next door.
Move to adjourn?
I'll second.
Okay, hold on.
So then you didn't leave.
So we didn't do the Hampton meeting agenda, what do I put for that?
Well, I mean, it's
Well,
discussed.
we won't have one for this one, so we'll
Okay.
have to do it
Next
for the
meeting?
November one.
Not November.
November.
Yeah.
Okay, so William moved to adjourn and Tony second.
Not permitted.
And
And,
And then- all in favor of adjourning?
Right.
117.
I'm ending the recording.